This episode is brought to you by FX's feud, Capote versus the Swans. Inspired by actual events, the series tells the story of Truman Capote and the women he betrayed. The original housewives. They were society's most elite women. Rich, glamorous socialites who defined a bygone era of high society New York. From creator Ryan Murphy, this drama series features an all-star cast, including Naomi Watts, Demi Moore, and Diane Lane. FX's feud premieres January 31st on FX Stream on Hulu.
Inspired by the life of the savvy and ambitious Colombian businesswoman Griselda Blanco comes a new Netflix original limited series. Griselda tells the story of a devoted mother who, with her lethal blend of charm and relentless savagery, creates one of the most powerful cartels in history. Witness Sofia Vergara's captivating transformation into the godmother of the underworld. Griselda, now streaming only on Netflix.
Barenaked, 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 ABCs.
Welcome to the Barenaked ABCs. Aaron, what do we do?
I would say that we go through every Barenaked Ladies songs from A to Z.
Now, you see how I did that? I got you to give me the title this week. Pretty sly, huh?
I have no fox to give.
If you were to compare me to an animal, what would you compare me to?
I don't know, man. I'm thinking you're some kind of polar bear.
Polar bear? Yeah, that makes sense.
You are up here in the frozen hostile wastes with me.
You know what polar bears like to eat?
Do they eat foxes?
Arctic foxes.
I see what you did there. Nicely done.
I'll get there one way or another.
Done.
I had you on the run.
I'm now a fox on the run. It's true.
So for people who haven't heard this song, go out and listen to it. But I'm going to put a snippet in of the Barenaked Ladies version in here.
She walks through the door leading down to the river, and her hair shone like gold in hot morning sun. She took all the love that poor boy could give her, left me to die like a fox on the run.
Aaron, do you know what album this song came off from?
I have no earthly idea. I mean, this is a cover of a Manfred Man song. I know that.
It is. So, I don't think anyone probably knows what song this comes from. I mean, what album this comes off from. Because it's a rare find album. In 2017... Amazon released the Live in Toronto concert from the Horseshoe from June 1991.
It's a live-only piece.
Correct. And it's a very early live-only piece, before they even recorded their first album.
Oh, wow.
It's called Hello City, Live from Toronto, and luckily because they released this, we're going to be able to cover songs that were part of the Barenaked Ladies' early repertoire that we would not otherwise probably be covering. It's a digital release only, and I'm not sure how it happened. I want to find out more, and I'm going to continue to search and see how it happened that only Amazon got a hold of this and only a digital release.
When was this
But
released?
for now,
do we know?
It was released in 2017.
Okay, so they very recently said we're going back to the archives. And
somehow, yes. And I would love to know more. So I'm gonna research a little bit more at some point, more than I already have and couldn't find much. But for now, you can still get it on Amazon.com. I encourage people to go out there. This is one of those rare finds. And I really do enjoy listening to them early on and their fun that they have. There is a lot of interesting takes that they have that you get with this album, including Couldn't Care Less, which we've already covered, but they have a different version of this where they talk a lot about Kiss. So this song is one of the rare finds off this. You can actually find it at the end of Crazy. This is one of those songs that when they were doing Crazy in concert, they cut off the outtakes, they cut off all the strange noises and all that. And what they did in concert with Crazy was they followed up with this song.
Yeah, they made a little medley.
Yeah, so it's not just Fox on the Run. It's called Fox on the Run, but it's not just Fox on the Run. Aaron, do you know the other songs? I wrote them down, but do you know the other songs they had in there?
I do. It goes into Bird on a Wire, originally by Leonard Cohen.
Like a bird on a wire, just like a drunk in a midnight choir.
A huge Leonard
Love
Cohen
Leonard
fan,
Cohen.
the whole
Yes.
band.
Yeah, I was very sad when he passed. But yeah, Bird on a Wire, originally by Leonard Cohen, but I've heard many covers of that, including one by the Bobs, the a cappella group, which is really, really good. Then they go into It Takes Two by Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock, which that one actually threw me for a loop initially. I had not recognized that right away, but yeah.
I wanna rock right now, I'm Rob Bass, I came to get down. I'm not internationally known, but I'm known to rock the microphone.
I love Ed doing rap
Yeah.
to bluegrassy type
Yeah,
music.
it's a very it's a crazy, no pun intended. Okay, well, pun intended. It's a crazy medley, and it's really interesting. It's very frenetic. It's got I should have guessed this was from early on in the career, not just because Steve's there, but just because they have that energy that they a lot of their early work really is encompassed by.
So they also did a version of this on the Ships and Dips tour, which I'll include that in as well, from the 2007. As they're leaving Turks and Caicos, this is their song that they played. So it's a lot of fun to listen to.
Oh, wow.
And then after Steve left the band, they even did a version of this, but they brought up someone on stage that from, I guess, a company that must have been sponsoring them for this concert, and he actually played the banjo with the group, which adds another whole element to it. Plus, they added
Oh wow!
yeah. Plus, it
bluegrass
also
feel.
added in between the Cohen
Perfect.
and the rap piece. They also added the "Foster the People, Pump Up the Kicks" song. So,
Oh, the pumped up
Yeah.
kicks. All the other kids with the pumped up kicks.
so it's
The
interesting.
catchiest song about school shootings you'll ever hear.
Way to go, BNL. Go with the inappropriate again. So,
It's a great song.
Aaron, as you mentioned, this is a Manfred Mann song. Originally written by Tony Hazard. And then Manfred Mann released it in 1968. It reached number 5 on the UK pop charts. And then Bill Emerson did a bluegrass version of this, which quickly became a very big bluegrass hit. There are some other versions of this as well. The interesting thing is, if you go on Wikipedia, they don't list the Barenaked Ladies version of this, since it was never officially released.
Snubbed. Oh, I see.
With all that being said, I will be posting the copy of Manfred Mann doing it, the copy of the Country Gentlemen covering it, as well as Zac Brown Band covering it. So,
Now, Manfred Mann, I know Manfred Mann from The Mighty Quinn. I would imagine that's probably their biggest
that
hit.
is their biggest hit. And they sound very similar.
When I think Manfred Mann, I think, yeah. This song and, well, the original and The Mighty Quinn, I could tell immediately. I don't think I've heard this song before. It's possible I've heard it. But it was very immediately familiar because I got that same vibe from Quinn the Eskimo. It's an interesting tune.
That's actually one of those songs that I grew up loving to listen to.
It's very catchy. I love that song. Yeah.
So I listening to the Manfred Mann version, I liked it, but I love this version a lot more than I like the Manfred Mann version of this song. So Aaron, why don't you break it down for us?
All right, let's break it down.
Break down. Aaron's gonna talk about chord structure and time.
Okay, so obviously at first they are playing Crazy, and then they move into there's a brief pause and they move into Fox on the Run. Now, when they performed Fox on the Run, the live recording that I heard, it's at right around 300 beats per minute, or assuming double time, which it almost assuredly is, that would be around 150 beats per minute. Which is interesting because they were playing Crazy at about 136 beats per minute. So the increase in tempo was almost assuredly intentional, perhaps to build up energy. The original, of course, by Manfred Mann is in C major, whereas this live cover seems to be in G major. The A section is G to D to A minor to C to A minor to D to C to back to G. So you have a 1-5-2 4-2-5-4-1. The chord changes here kind of remind me of the pre-chorus of Hole in My Soul by Aerosmith, which is a perfect delivery in my mind of that kind of big rock ballad chorus. the chord changes for the B section are a little more simple. You got C to G to D to G to C to G to A to D, which turns around very nicely back to the chorus, which is the A section, landing on the tonic G. Now, you'll notice that I say back to the chorus. And that's the interesting thing about the structure of this song is that it starts on the chorus. It goes right into the chorus from the beginning. So you actually go chorus, and then you have the verses are sandwiched between the chorus iterations, and it's kind of telling a story. It's a very kind of a classic folk song structure in that sense. It reminded me kind of the folk song that I usually think of when I think of folk song is New York Girls, Can't You Dance the Polka? Although that song starts with a verse, so perhaps that's not the best comparison. But it does have the same feeling where you're telling a story in linear format in the different verses, and it's quite folksy in its feel. So that's kind of interesting. So it starts off with the chorus, and you get verse 1, which is your B section, then your chorus again back to the A, then verse 2, your B, and then chorus of the A. It's just kind of A, B, A, B, A. After hitting Fox on the Run, as we noted, they then go into Bird on a Wire by Leonard Cohen, and then It Takes Two by Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock. But yeah, it's a fun little moment. It's, to me, this smacks of, this is the kind of thing that we would do when my band was performing around Maine when we were in college. We would kind of joke like, oh man, the chords to the song we wrote kind of sound like this song here, or it's kind of similar to that. So sometimes we would go into one of those songs and then come back and finish our song or something like that, So it's kind of one of those. It's like a musical quote, It's kind of like when somebody busts out a The Office reference at the office. It's like you're in the middle of a conversation, someone says that's what she said or something. It's one of those things where like, oh yeah, I recognize that. It's the Captain America. I understood that reference. So it's a kind of little musical quotation, and it's a little fun thing that I've seen a lot of bands do live, and they pull it off very well here. I think it gets kind of progressively more ridiculous. I think that's why I like it, because it starts out with Crazy, then it goes into Fox on the Run, then it goes into Bird on a Wire, like, okay, and then it goes into this rap song, and just like, okay, now it's completely disjointed and completely unconnected from where it started. So it was very funny. The performance is very good. It's a lot of energy. Like I said, I could almost feel like I was there when I was listening to it, and it brought a smile to my face. I definitely enjoyed it.
No, so what they do that makes this even better. So it's about a song about this guy who gets let down, who falls for this girl, lusts for this girl, and she drags him along and then drops him, and he's heartbroken about it. But the tone of it is hilarious in that because it's this very upbeat song, it doesn't match up with what's being said. But that matches up with later on the other songs that they put in there, like a Bird on the Wire, and then also with the It Takes Two. Like, it all kind of meshes in together with this same harmonious thing that relationships take two people, and you can't have a relationship where there's just one person that's into it. So it's funny that even when they're just kind of playing around and picking out all these different songs, they're still kind of sticking to one through line with the idea and the theme. Now, what I love even more about this version versus the original Manfred Man version, or the other one written by the person who wrote it, what I like best about this is Steve's little add-ins that he's constantly throwing in the background. And it actually, like, there are times that sometimes in their songs you're like, oh, why did they do that? But that's them just having fun. But it actually builds in this song, because you have Ed telling the story to Steven, who, it's like this bar kind of song where you have Ed telling Steven this story, but Steven's like trying to get him to go along with the story. So you have Ed saying, everybody knows the reason for my fall. And Steven goes, well, now we do.
Well, I noticed, it's funny you mentioned that, Tracy, because I noticed the lyrics that they sung were slightly different. Of course, I was unable to find an official lyrics deposit anywhere online for this cover, probably because it's a pretty rare, it's a deep cut, as we say. But I was reading the Manfred Man lyrics while I was listening to this, and it was mostly the same, but there were some slight deviations. Like in the Manfred Man, it's like everyone knows the reason for the fall, and I think I think they sung "Everyone Knows the Reason for My Fall," and yeah, so it was just it was I don't know if that was intentional or just misremembering the lyrics, but it seemed to be more personal and more from. I mean, obviously the lyrics in the Manfred Man song are clearly someone recounting a personal story, but it seemed more like if told from the first person,
right?
In this version.
Well, and then you have on the next line, you have "This woman tempted me down by Paradise Hall," and then Stephen goes,
right.
"You told us why." So he's like, you already went back. I told you that I knew why. You already told us, and now you're repeating yourself.
And
then Ed continues on, "This woman tempted me. Like, I'm not going to be interrupted by you." So it's almost like this barroom banter back and forth between the two of them.
Everybody knows the reason for my fall.
Yeah, by now
this woman tempted me down Paradise Hall.
I said we knew.
This woman tempted me and she took me for a ride. Now, like lonely Fonzie, I need a place to hide.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's like Steve's heckling Ed, which is great.
It's that energy that they used to have that I really, really enjoy. The other thing that I really like about it is the harmonies that we get at the very end, which again is interesting that they follow it up with Crazy, or they follow this song up by Crazy, because they do the "it takes two, it takes two, it takes two." So you get the 3-part building harmonies like you do with Crazy, but just faster this time around.
It takes two, make it out of sight.
Yeah, precisely.
I wish they had done this for the album. I miss this not being on there now that I know it exists. It's faster. It's much more enjoyable, I think, and almost rock bluegrassy versus Manfred Mann's version of it.
Yeah.
And I love this version of it. I listened to all the other versions this week, and this is the one I would listen to over and over and over again. Not that I had a choice. But.
Oh, yeah. This is... This is definitely like a really fun cover. I'm very much of two minds when it comes to covers. A lot of times I don't like them, but I really like them when the band like really makes it their own. And the best example I can think of off the top of my head is the Polyphonic Spree covering Lithium by Nirvana. Now, if you're going to cover Nirvana or the Beatles or someone really, really super huge and with a lot of impact, you better make it your own. And that cover is fantastic. It's very lush and really orchestrated and baroque. If you haven't heard it, run out and listen to it. It's beautiful. It'd be a great song to test a new stereo system out on. But yeah, I like this. It's definitely got that BNL energy to it. I think they do make it their own. It's got, they're clearly kind of changing the feel of it a little bit because they're going into this bluegrass kind of thing. So I enjoyed it quite a bit, and it was cool to hear their take on it.
Hey, Aaron. Quick question.
Yes.
Did you ever get in on the ground floor with Bitcoin?
I did, actually. Have I never told you this before?
You've never told me this before.
Okay, so I purchased 3 Bitcoin back when it was $50 a pop because I was curious about this whole thing. It sounded like an interesting thing, and it had just been, it was at like $1 or like $10 for a long time, and then it started to get up. I heard about it on NPR back in probably 2015, something like that. It was a while ago now. And I purchased 3 when they were at 50. And then it shot up in the next couple of months to 150. So I sold because, look at me. I'm the smart investor. I tripled my investment. 300% growth on my investment. That's amazing. You don't get that a lot of times. So I was like, I'm getting out now, 3 times. Of course, they got up to 10,000 or more. And I really wish I'd held on to them. That would have been a good $30,000. But, I tripled my investment, and I was happy about that. I just wish that I had held on to it for a little longer. Why do you ask?
Well, you have a chance to get on an early investment now, too.
Oh, my goodness.
Called Podcoin.
Don't make the mistake I made, people. I didn't even know you were going there. That was the most subtle transition yet. Good one, sir.
Thank you. So if you haven't heard of Podcoin, it's an app where you listen to podcasts and you get paid to listen, and then you get to change in those Podcoins for actual things like Amazon or Starbucks gift cards, or you can give those Podcoins to charity if you're a really charitable person. And actually, they are actually worth more giving them to charity than they are by getting things for yourself. It's a wonderful app. And if you go in there and you download the app and sign up for it using the code name Barenaked, you get 300 extra pod coins just to start.
I do need to get into this because I do listen to a lot of podcasts. I would assume you're the mastermind here, Tracy. So you'll have to tell me. Are we one of the podcasts they can listen to gain pod coins?
Pretty much any podcast that's out there, you can find on them right now. But one of the reasons I do want to put this on there is that by promoting them, even though we don't get paid anything for it, by promoting them, we get up on their board, up onto the higher area where people will be able to see us, and hopefully more people will be able to listen to us that way. I encourage anyone that listens to podcasts to go out there and give it a try, see if you like it. There are glitches and stuff. They are working on it. I've only found one podcast so far that has glitches, but it's a pretty good app so far. I've liked it so far.
Very cool.
So, speaking of numbers and pod coins, Aaron, let's put some numbers to this song.
I see what you did there.
All right, so Aaron, how many foxes would you give this song?
This is a tough one. I mean, I like it a lot. The recording is pretty decent for a live recording from like a couple decades ago, almost. I want to say.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard for me to ignore an audio quality issue, but it's not bad quality, and I really, like I said, I think more than anything, the thing I like most about it is that it does give you that feeling like you're there. So there's a lot of energy to it. It's a fun recording. I'm gonna give it a solid 3.6 foxes. I think it's a very,
foxes.
Certainly, it's not a bad song at all. It's rather good, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. Not like one of my favorites, but it's definitely on the better side of good.
Yeah. So I really enjoy this song. I don't know if you picked up on it when I'm talking about it, but I really love this song. I've listened to it a lot over the last few weeks as I've been downloading it for people and uploading it onto different things, listening to it on my drive. The kids are even singing it now because I've played it so much.
Wow.
There's actually another live recording that I downloaded and then spliced, so it's just the Fox on the Run, so I don't have to go through Crazy first. I love Crazy, but it's nice to hit Fox on the Run all by itself. And it's a little bit of a different version of it, which I was able to get at BNL http.com. You can go there and download a different version of this song as well. I would say that going through my list, I listened to this song and like this song probably about as much as I like Call Me Calmly and Big Bang Theory. It's got the energy. It makes me feel pumped up and smile, and I sing along with it every single time. It'll stick in my head throughout the whole day. To me, this is a 4.5.
Wow. Yeah. Very nice. Which puts it at a 4.05 between the two of us, which is quite high. I want to say that is in the top 20 or just below.
But we still have to wait for Michelle, too. So we'll get Michelle.
Oh, that's
Michelle,
true.
What's your rating?
You'll have to edit that part out.
I will have to edit that in at this point.
Yes, Michelle, who's been sitting here the whole time, what do you think about this song?
Hi there, this is Michelle. I think it's interesting that a lot of what I found on this song, a lot of the recordings, it's all Crazy / Fox on the Run. So it was nice to actually find them doing just Fox on the Run. But I do think it goes perfectly. It's a perfect segue from Crazy into Fox on the Run because of the instrumentation and just that fast pace. Like they're a wagon on the trail and the reins have been let go and the horses are about to just go off the chain, as they say. I like their version of Fox on the Run. It's interesting. It's definitely got their sound to it. Like, I know I have heard them interviewed, Ed especially, in the old days. Like, this kind of banjo bluegrass is kind of how they warm up, and this is their thing, and this is what they do. So I feel like this kind of music is really close to their heart. Or it was when it was the five of them all together. I don't know where they're at these days. But I like their version of Fox on the Run. I was glad to hear the original also, which was on YouTube, and I appreciate you sharing the link for that, Tracy. But I give it a 3.5. I liked it.
As I mentioned before, they played it on Ships and Dip Store. I'll put those links up. Also, the version that they played after Steve was gone, where they changed the ending a little bit. But the real appearance that I have for this week, because they're singing Leonard Cohen, and I know Leonard Cohen's a big, big influence on the whole band, thus them putting him into this song. The appearance for this week is that Stephen Page was asked by Jack Layton's family, and I believe it was actually Jack Layton in his will, to cover the Hallelujah by Leonard Cohen. Kevin Hearn is playing on the piano, and Kevin Fox is on cello. Is absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, nice.
And it makes sense to have that as the appearance this week. For, of course, Leonard Cohen is the connection between these two songs. I really recommend people go out and listen to this. It's devastatingly haunted to listening to, but beautiful all the same. And it's different than I've heard the song done before. And it's a sad situation to have it played, but Stephen Page and Kevin just knocked this out of the park, and for a beautiful reason, for the late Jack Layton. That will be this week's appearance. I recommend everyone go out and listen to this version of Alleluia. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. And it's Stephen doing it a little bit differently than other people have done it in the past. So go into it knowing that. And it's at a funeral, so once again, he's trying to be very honorific with it.
Yeah, I'm intrigued. I want to hear this now.
Plugs. If you haven't already, go out and buy Jeff Whitmire's album on iTunes and Bandcamp, or both. Give him some good money. It really is that good. It's an amazing album. Also, friend of the podcast, Michael Hunter of the Weird Alphabet, is doing a fundraiser until the end of September to make his first album. So go out and donate to that as well. The link will be on this week's song. You know, he hasn't told me what he's going to put on it yet, but of course I've loved Jeff's songs, and there's so much fun in them. Like, he has a really good time with each of the songs he's writing. It's just a lot of fun and games.
I was wondering where you were going with that. But you know me, I like funny games.
So join us next week as we come back and we discuss the very political song, Fun and Games.
It actually, that's not ironic. He's being serious. It's a very political song. All right, see you next week, folks.
Cause it takes two, make it go right. It takes two, make it out of sight. Thank you.
To celebrate joining Pantheon Podcasts, Rock Camp, the podcast, the official podcast of Rock and Roll Fantasy Camp, is giving away a guitar signed by Mike Portnoy of Dream Theater, Marty Friedman, formerly of Megadeth, and legendary shredder Zakk Wylde, plus our rockstar counselors like Vinny Appice, Monty Pittman, and more. To enter to win, simply follow, rate, and review our podcast on your preferred platform, and that's all you have to do. For more information, go to rockcamp.com/podcast.